a snake in a suit. That's all. He's a snake.
You talking about Eddie Hearn?
Bro, he let what's the guy's name? Conor Ben test positive and was still gonna let him fight. Still was gonna let him fight.
Dillian Whyte fought after he tested.
Who? Dillian Whyte. After testing positive, I didn't even know that. Bro, he's a snake, bro. He's bad for
Would you fight Conor Ben?
Yes, if he off that shit.
On an Eddie Hearn show?
Huh?
On an Eddie Hearn show? Or does it mean
No, because I can't trust Eddie Hearn. You can't trust Eddie Hearn. You can't. He's a snake in the suit.
And there is Gervonta Tank Davis stating that you cannot trust Eddie Hearn. He is a snake in the grass because of the incident with Conor Ben, along with an alluding side note by Dillian Whyte. And let me counterpunch. I think that a lot of these fighters, when they have the opportunity to talk about any other fighter, especially when they haven't been in that situation, they're going to do it. You know, like Gervonta Tank Davis, yes, he's ragging on Ryan Garcia right now because it's his time. Because he was the latest one that had reported drugs or failed a drug test because of some things detected in his system. Okay, ostarine, okay, for one. And nandrolone was supposed to be cleared or whatever, but it's still ostarine, no less. And I think, if anything, any promoter calling Eddie Hearn a snake in the grass, I think is the wrong term. I think what you need to call Eddie Hearn is a contradicting person, not necessarily a snake in the grass, because he ain't did anything any other promoter hasn't done. You know what I mean? Because if you look at people that failed tests, look at Canelo Alvarez. For Canelo Alvarez in 2018 was with Oscar De La Hoya with Golden Boy Promotions. And they were doing everything that they can to get down to the bottom of it, protect his legacy, his name, his reputation. And they were defending him and Bernard, to the utmost. You know what I mean? That's anybody. Just like Eddie Hearn will defend Conor Ben. He defended Dillian Whyte. And speaking of Dillian Whyte for a minute, let's keep it a buck. Dillian Whyte, his B sample was different from his A sample, so it was a contaminated sample. That's the whole deal. So Gervonta is just looking at that point. He didn't know anything about Dillian Whyte, so he didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. Okay, he didn't. But someone else said, "Oh, just like the Dillian Whyte thing." My problem with the Dillian Whyte issue or incident was the fact that they did not let Oscar Rivas' team know that this man had tested positive or had a contaminated or had any kind of issue with the sample. Okay, and Eddie did the same shit with Conor Ben. He had failed one test, and then he failed another one, and they were still going to let that fight go, or because the window of time that it took Eddie to tell the public was too far of a time, uncomfortably. I think it was more like a day or something like that. So I think it was like a Friday, and I think he kind of sat on it a weekend. You know, so people criticize him because of that. Now, that was shady, you know, or should I say sketchy, okay? But, again, Chris Eubank Jr. still wanted that damn money. He was like, I'll fight him with the juice because I want my $3 million, because they had a split pot, and I think both of them were going to earn $3 million. So, yeah, Chris Eubank Jr. still wanted that damn money. So he was willing to fight. So why are you castrating Eddie and running his ass up the flagpole when the fighter that was supposed to have been cheated on, Chris Eubank Jr., still wanted to make the fight happen? He still wanted that money. It's just the BBBFC wouldn't allow it once it became public because it was leaked out again. Okay, so I don't even really know if Eddie Hearn even mentioned it to the public, but it got out nonetheless. Okay, and since then, Eddie Hearn has been that guy that has not tried, just like the Ryan situation. He's learned, like, look, I can't run his ass up the flagpole because I've been there in that situation with my fighters. So he's learning, to say the least. So if it was like to call him a snake in the grass, I think it's better suited that you and your promotional company don't like Eddie Hearn like we all know that Leonard Ellaby don't. So it would make sense for Gervonta Tank Davis to say that about Eddie Hearn. He's supposed to say that about Eddie Hearn because Eddie Hearn is the competitive promotional company over afar. Now, I'll say this. Him saying, hey, no, I won't work with him. I'll fight Conor Benn if he doesn't have anything in his system or he don't have that shit in his system like he said. But then what I'll do is I won't fight on an Eddie Hearn card. Well, that's stupid anyway because Leonard Ellerbe versus Eddie Hearn, look, that's just like you saying, well, I would fight him if he wasn't with Eddie Hearn. Because you got to deal with Eddie Hearn. Just like Canelo had to deal with Oscar De La Hoya in order to make the Jaime Munguia fight. He has to deal with Eddie Hearn if he claims that he would fight Conor Benn. So for him to say, well, I don't trust Eddie Hearn because something that somebody told you about Eddie Hearn or whatever your understanding or interpretation of this man is, that means you won't fight him because of who his promoter is. And that's Eddie Hearn. So you won't fight Conor Benn because of Eddie Hearn and who Eddie Hearn is. So let's just keep it a buck. Don't say, oh, I'll fight him if you don't have the shit system, but oh, I ain't gonna fight on no Eddie Hearn card. You're just saying that because somebody told you to say that because Leonard Ellerbe does not want Eddie Hearn here in the States. Oscar De La Hoya don't want Eddie Hearn here in the States. These guys, these American promotional companies and promoters, they do not want Eddie Hearn over here because he has too much pull and the money that he can generate or the money that he can offer these fighters can a bit be challenging or damn near competitive or more so than what they're already getting. And they know that. So they're like, this man, Eddie Hearn, is a threat because you earn with Hearn bars. Right? And they know that because they know Matchroom, DAZN, they can accumulate the money based on the interest of the fighter. You know, so advantage to me, Leonard Ellerbe. Bars. Why? Because they have got and convinced Gervonta Tank Davis, which is a very exciting fighter in the ring, not to deal with Eddie Hearn. And they want him thinking the right way or the way they want him to think about Eddie Hearn so he'll never work with Eddie Hearn. You see what I mean? Because the more people Eddie Hearn works with, the bigger he gets. Okay? And then once you work with Eddie Hearn, you find out, oh, this ain't as bad as I thought. In fact, it's better. I got my check in the dressing room after I tapped somebody's ass or got beat up myself. You can't beat that. That ain't how it is what I'm used to. You see what I mean? So those guys with Gervonta Tank Davis, they're doing a great job with promoting Tank Davis against the competitive promoter because a lot of times jealousy is fear. Okay? When you, like, envy is one thing, but jealousy, you know, you're afraid of something that somebody else is going to take from you. So you have to preach hate into a person. And they're doing that successfully with Gervonta Tank Davis. Okay, so bravo to Leonard Ellerbe and crew because they don't want him in there. And I'll leave this for Gervonta Tank Davis. If he feels Eddie Hearn is such a snake in the grass, wasn't he just there at a Canelo fight? Wasn't he just there at the Canelo fight? Who promoted Canelo Alvarez for what, 2 or 3 fights now, 4 fights? Eddie Hearn. And you look up to Canelo as a big bro. So I think you need to start using your own mind and start actually talking to the fighters that actually work with Eddie Hearn versus what you try to put dirt on Eddie Hearn, something that you heard, I know, from somebody else. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Gervonta Tank Davis stating that Eddie Hearn is a snake in the grass. Don't trust him. Can't be trusted. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!